welcome back to the More Movement, More Money podcast. I got my dude here, and future landlord actually, fun fact.
Yeah, that's right.
Cheers. Man. Salute. Got him on the pod, and he's going to share us a story today, first of all. Oh, it's so good. Lion's mane's in there. But he's going to share us a little Rags to Riches story, but as well as some money tips. Because, dude, I have a feeling this dude has it figured out by the looks of your content. And mostly in the real estate game, right?
Yeah, mostly in the real estate investing game, yeah.
Yeah, so today we're going to get some stories from Alex and see how he can, impact us, because I know a lot of us in the, spiritual community or whatever, the real estate stuff, tax stuff, or accounting, all those types of, fields just kind of throw those people off. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Kind of run away from them, rightfully so. So, give us some background on you. Just share who you are, how you ended up in Sayulita, because he's here. I met him at an Ice Bath workshop, actually. Give us a little bit of who you are.
Yeah, man. First of all, truly honored you invited me on here today. So currently, I think what attracted you to bringing me on was you've seen some of my content speaking about just how, I've been able to build a pretty large real estate portfolio all over the world now that I bought my first property here internationally in Mexico. And I've done so using very little of my own money, going into very little of my own debt, leveraging other people's money, investors, private equity, and getting really creative. And it took a lot of work, and I think there's a lot of stigmas when it comes to real estate investing, a lot of fears out there, in all the investing world. Mm-hmm. There's risks associated with it, and I think those risks deter a lot of people because we're wired to run from fear and avoid that. And I think my mentality has always been, since a young kid, fortunately I was wired to override that and to defy the norm. And so I think my entrepreneurial mindset started at a young age. I didn't really listen to my teachers. I didn't feel good about authority telling me what to do and when to do it. And I just, it got me in a lot of trouble as a kid, but I think that mentality is what kind of carried me into defying the norm in the business world as well. Mm-hmm. I tried a lot of things, failed at a lot of things, and then, really found my niche in negotiating and acquiring and managing and developing large real estate deals, which is actually a lot easier than people think. And then with that comes, all the details of, how to manage your finances, how to budget, how to get creative with taxes. And so, there's lots of stuff that I've learned along the way that kind of compound everything. And then I've gotten into some other assets. I do some crypto stuff. I've started some other businesses and things like that. So I look forward to, having you poke around and see what's best for your audience.
Dude, I'm ready to poke.
Awesome, man.
So I love this. The first thing that came to mind, he was without his own money, his own debt. So a lot of us are sitting around, maybe if you're fortunate enough, you have a little bit of money at least on you, maybe 5 to 10K to the side to where you're ready to invest maybe. So I want answers for 3 different scenarios. One was someone with zero money, but maybe they have decent credit or something they can work towards it. Maybe a year from now they can build their credit to do some things, but they don't have money. They're really pinching it. The other one, option 2, is someone with maybe $10,000 to $25,000 somewhere, they have a chunk of money to where they're ready to invest and they're willing to do real estate. They don't know what to do, where to start, where's best. And then third one is someone with over 6 figures, but they're okay, I just been stockpiling away from my good job or whatever they've been doing. They've done good, and maybe it's in the stock market, but they're ready to pull it, put it in real estate.
It's great.
What should these 3 people do?
Yeah, great question.
Starting from the no money.
So with no money, it's sort of a loaded question because you have to, I guess, decide. I'll give 2 scenarios based on what your long-term goals are. So I think if your goal is just hey, I need a side hustle. I got no money, but I got time on my hands. Is real estate right for me? What could I do? You could go online right now. Well, there's a couple ways you could do it. You could drive around some neighborhoods, look for some houses that are distressed, right? A little dilapidated. The lawn's overgrown, and you can go, get a list of 10, 20, write down the addresses, go online, look up the public records, find the owner's information, call them up, and ask if they want to sell their property. You look up what's the property worth when it's all fixed up. Maybe it's worth $100,000 right now. It's worth $200,000 if it was fixed up. Offer them $50,000 and see if they take it. If they take the offer, you put them under a purchase and sale contract. You market that property to a bunch of investors. sell it to an investor for $75,000. You never had to bring any money to the table. You use this contract to leverage, right? And all you did was do a little dirty work that those investors don't want to do. Like me, myself, I don't do this anymore. I don't want to go cold call people. But if you go do that work and then you bring me a deal, I'll pay you $10,000 or $20,000 premium on top of that. And the plus side is you're learning all the nuances of real estate, right? So you're learning how to negotiate. You're learning how to look up property values, how to find properties. Now, I specialize in mobile home parks for a lot of reasons. We can get into that later. But the great thing about mobile home parks, RV parks, the phone number's right on the sign. So I actually pay people all over the country. I mean, Texas, Missouri, Ohio. I have people that drive around, pizza delivery guys, and they just write numbers down.
So the arbitrage is finding something that could just be fixed up a little bit, marketed up, right?
Yeah, so the arbitrage is finding something that's valuable to an investor who will come in and pay cash, right? And is a distressed and motivated seller because, again, 6 times out of 10, they probably do want to sell. They're probably behind on their taxes, right? So that's what you're doing. But this strategy is called wholesaling. It's where you don't have to bring any money to the table. You don't have to buy the property. You don't actually have to close on it. You don't do any of the repairs, but you use a contract to then upsell to an investor. And I built my business on that. I did about 40 transactions like this. Never touched a hammer, never called a contractor, never spent a dime. And we did about $500,000 of just wholesale deals. Some of them we were finding on Craigslist. I just did a video about this. We were going to markets like St. Louis. You can find houses on Craigslist for $10,000. So we could sit here right now, make a list of $10,000 homes in St. Louis, call them up, put them under contract, and then go sell them for $15,000, right? Because we did the dirty work. We negotiated. We got the sale contract. We did the due diligence. We got the photos. We got everything. Now we just go deliver that package to an investor.
Gotcha. That's cool. So
that's the short term. That could be done. You could make profits in a matter of 30 days.
And the marketing is easy. Like, because there's buyers for these types of places, like selling for $15,000.
Well, so again, as a side hustle, you could just do Facebook and Craigslist. Go on Facebook Marketplace in that local market, or go. So let's do an example. Let's just do an example real quick so it's can be comprehended a little more. But say we're looking here, you could do this in Mexico. We could go around. We could find some places. We could talk to the owners. Hey, look, have you thought about selling, right? If we get a good deal and we get a purchase contract, we could go in the local for sale Facebook groups on Sayulita Marketplace or Facebook, right? Yeah. Local for sale groups or for rent groups. Hey, we got a deal for sale. We have it under contract for maybe $100,000. Does someone want to buy this for $150,000? Right now, we don't need a broker's license. We're basically brokering deals, but instead of making 3% commission, we're making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And there's a lot
Sounds like a hack.
It is a hack. And there's deals that don't go through. There's cold calling's grimy. So as you build a business, as you make a long-term thing out of this, you start to buy leads. You can buy leads where you can go to the county and actually get a list of all the homeowners who are behind on their taxes or behind on their water bills, right? These are great people to call up to. And then you hire cold callers to do all the cold calling.
So you can create a whole system out of it.
Of course.
And you just get the arbitrage of the people willing to buy the properties found for them.
Absolutely.
The come-ups found for them.
So I would say that's a quick side hustle. Now for me, I did that for about 12 months and then I was like, hey, this is great, but it's a lot of work and I'm not getting any residual cash flow out of this. Like this is all transactional, right? Yeah. So it's like being a broker. I gotta work and hustle and I gotta hire more people, and then we want more money, we need more volume, right? So quickly I was like, well, I want to start buying up deals. And I started buying deals with no money too, where same methods, I would use cold calling strategies to find, and I might spend a month, 2 months negotiating a really good deal on a mobile home park or an RV park. And then I'll bring investors in, and I built up an email list just like people build up any client list. I've built up, clients of investors who, it really just started with marketing my deals on Facebook. Same thing. Hey, I got this deal. Who wants to invest? 10% returns, 11% returns. There's tons of people out there, and that's going to lead us to our third thing, who want to just take the money they've already earned and invest it passively.
Yeah, that's probably most of them, maybe.
Right, and so we go find those people, and real estate's a lot more lucrative and less volatile than like the stock market. It's a lot more concrete and less abstract and easier to comprehend than like crypto and stuff like that. So it's, I came in at a good time, 2019, when the stock market was weird, 2018, 2019, and everyone was like wanting to invest in real estate. So So you can go and borrow money and use that money to invest and buy deals, and everyone wins. You get to keep the deals long term. You get to collect a piece of the cash flow. You get to collect profit when you refinance or sell the deal down the road. Mm-hmm. And I've taken that and I've acquired, I have about 600 units right now. Wow. We're in 6 different states, 2 countries, and about 15 million worth of property, and I've really written very little checks to acquire that. So this is a very extreme version of that, right? But say you want to go buy a house or an investment property, 1, 2, 3, you could very easily go internet, whether in your inner network or outer network, find people who want to invest in those deals with you. So you don't have to, use your own money, and you bring the management. You find the deals, you manage, you facilitate whatever the business plan is.
Is one of the scenarios for these people someone that wants to start and they want to own something? Is that even an option for the first person with no money?
Own something for themselves?
Yeah, if they're trying to start their own thing or house hack or whatever it is.
Like, and they want to live in it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, there's ways. I think the really great way to leverage that. So right now, what I've been helping, there's friends who maybe their credit and income it doesn't really appease the lenders right now based on just how crazy everything is in the finance world and the housing market. So what I really suggest is looking for seller finance deals. And I bought a lot of my commercial deals this way, and you can do this with residential. But say you have a listing, go on the MLS, go on Zillow, find properties, find one that you want, your dream home, and make a list of 10 or 20 of those. And maybe they've been sitting on the market for 10 days, but if they've been sitting on the market for 30 days, they might be open to a seller finance offer. Hey, interest rates are crazy right now. I don't quite qualify for a loan, but if I paid you $100K down, would you finance me for 12 months, 24 months, something like that? Now you get interest on top of it. I'll pay you top value. We don't have to wait for an appraisal. I'll give you the 100K cash in 30 days. It's a great strategy, and it can be a win-win for both parties. And so now you just got to come up with the 100K cash. Maybe you already have it. Maybe you have family that can lend you that. You bypass the whole banking system, which is really the big problem when it comes to getting qualified is, going through getting a mortgage, getting approved. And so it can be used to get your own place. And then, what I recommend doing is duplicating that process and then turning that into a rental and refinancing that and doing the whole BRRRR model, buy, rehab, refinance, repeat. So yeah.
I love it. So for the person with like $25,000, they're ready to like throw in real estate. They don't want to spend much time, but maybe here's a good example. What if someone has a group of friends who want to just buy land or something, not even a property, and they're willing to, fork over $25,000 up front, for a little future, Citadel type scenario. Yeah. This is a selfish question.
And use it, yeah, of course. And would you monetize it, or would it strictly be for personal use?
It'd be for personal use, maybe for the first couple or few years, but then in the future, like host retreats here, like, wellness events, maybe even festival one day if there's enough acreage. Yeah,
so I think, and if you, like you're saying, essentially you don't have enough funds to go and buy something that's on the market or something, but how could you get creative with what you have?
Yeah, what if the land was like $100,000, but it had $25,000? What would be the best scenario? Or
what I really suggest, and this is how you truly arbitrage the situation, but like I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's a lake town. And I have my personal residence. I bought that myself, but this piece of property popped up for sale right by my house, and I just wanted it for me. I wanted it. I was like, dude, it was a piece of property. It was right by the river. I was like, I could put a camper on there. Me and my daughter can go, turn it into like a little secondary property. And I was like, but I don't want to use my own money. So I need to build a business plan, turn it into an investment, bring investors in, and then I'll get the best of both worlds. So what I did was I created a strategy. I was like, we'll put a septic in, we'll put sewer and power in, and we'll set up 3 campers. It's about a half-acre lot, 3 campers, and we'll Airbnb them. That thing's going gangbusters. I put a wood-burning sauna in there. I put an outdoor shower. It's got a tree house. And they rent, dude, they're pulling in like $10,000 a month because each camper rents for $140 a night.
Yeah.
And then I can block out and utilize the property for retreats or events whenever I want to.
So you're making it a business model, then it's like, okay, investors are like, oh yeah.
And it's the same thing I did here. Like the goal on my Sayulita property is to break even. If I break even, I win. I have a place to live. I have a place to hang out and do retreats and all that. And if I don't have to pay for housing when I'm here, I win. And same thing with something like that. I would find a way, how can you break even? How can you monetize it enough that you could bring outside capital in, or, use the capital that you have and get that back pretty quickly,
Roger.
Or you're going to have operational costs. You're going to have taxes. You're going to have utilities, right? Or maybe not, depending on what you're utilizing it for.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
And I think with the big, if you've got over, $100,000, I really suggest passive investing. I think that's really the best scenario, and I highly suggest looking into real estate. You could passively invest into the stock market. You could passively invest into a lot of different vehicles, but when it comes to real estate, the returns are just a lot more competitive. If I borrow capital, I can afford. Sometimes I pay 12%, 15% interest. The S&P 500 maybe does 9 or 10, and that's if you're doing a mutual fund, you're getting like 6%. If you're doing an so it goes down and down.
What if you're in
down.
Tesla though?
Yeah, well then you're all over the board. You're up, you're down.
Yeah, true.
For multiple and I play that game too. I like to, like I said, I do stocks and crypto. But if you just have a nest egg and you're like, I want to know that it's protected, go invest in a real estate operator like myself. I'll show you the whole business plan. I'll say, I'll give you monthly reports on how the project's doing. And there's a lot of different profit centers too when it comes. You could either be a private lender who just lends at a fixed interest, or you could say I want 20% ownership, and when you resell the property, I want 20% of those profits too on top of my monthly.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a long-term kind of business plan.
For sure. Man, my head's turning now. Turn into a business, a business model of some sort. But then it makes sense to go to people for investing.
And here's what I'll say: it's not everyone's going to listen to this and be like, "Oh, I want to get into the real estate world." But there's all kinds of creative strategies, no matter what your situation is. Like for you, I think the creative strategy would be like going off market to find that property, because if that's listed on the market, it's going to be listed at top dollar per acre.
I've heard the same thing.
So go do what I said, and I mean everyone's public information. If you drive by my house and look up my address, you can pull up my name and my phone number and my email, and you can contact me. And you can do that with any piece of property. So I think that's how you get creative is, avoiding brokers, avoiding banks. And if you can find a way to monetize and get some cash flow on top of it, it's even better,
See, now in the scenario where you got investors for something like that, say just for easy math, it was $100,000 for it, and you got 5 people to come in with $20K each. How do you what's it look like paying that off, or paying those people off to where you eventually have ownership over it? Yeah,
so I'll give you an example. The mobile home park world, buying manufactured home communities is great. It's a great business model because first of all, it appeases the affordable housing crisis that we're in. Also, the tenants own their own homes, so they do all their own maintenance on their homes. I don't have to worry about toilets and all that, right? And the turnover is a lot less, because if you think about it, if you're a mobile home tenant, you might be in, 7 times out of 10, you're a senior citizen. You might be on Social Security. You might be on fixed income. You don't have too many options, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually kind of your final home, and you might live there for 10, 20, 30 years, pass it on to your kid. So it's a great model in that sense. So a lot of investors and lenders are really attracted to that. Warren Buffett's a big backer of the manufactured housing industry. So I started buying those up, and I would, for example, say there's a $500,000 park. It's got 30 tenants, and it's bringing in, $10,000 a month. The beautiful thing about these parks is I can add value to them by, operationally, without having to do a bunch of renovations and all this stuff. I can bring in management, I can bring in systems, I can update the leases, I can get, open up a store so that they have a place, a lawn, put in a washer and dryer, amenities, pave the roads, all of a sudden, minor things. Now I can bump up the lot rent a little bit, I can fill the vacant lots. I don't have to pay anything for that. I just market, hey, bring your home, right? And so the goal is for me to bring in investors. For example, on a $500,000 property, say, usually I'll secure seller financing, so I need to bring 30% to the table, right? So if we need to bring like $200,000, I'll run a business plan, a pro forma. How much is this project going to produce over the next 2 or 3 years?
Okay.
If it's going to produce a 20% cash on cash return, then I know I can afford to pay my lenders 15%, still leave a little left over for me. And then when I sell that property in 3 years and it's worth 1.5 million, all that money goes in my pocket.
Yeah.
Because the investors get their money back, they made their return, everybody wins. So it's sort of a long-term play for me. I get to own and control the real estate, make sure I'm adding value, and then I get to resell it on the back end and, you know, recoup profits while making a little bit of cash flow. But most of that's going to your investors. You're getting to buy and own and hold real estate. You've got monthly expenses, you've got interest going to your investors, and you've got a mortgage either going to the seller or the bank.
Yeah.
So there's very little, like the cash flow is pretty minimal. But when I make $1 million when I sell a property, it's a good day for me, you know?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so now, you know, the 600 I own right now, sometimes I'm selling properties, sometimes I'm refinancing them. If I refinance that property at $1 million, it's the same thing. Now the bank gives me a whole new loan for $1 million. I can pay off my lenders and keep the property.
I was gonna say, what about keeping the property?
That's the best strategy. I'm trying to work in, you know, keep it step by step, but that's the ideal strategy. It doesn't always work because now you're getting into, well, who's co-signing on the loan with you? Can you qualify for a $2 million loan? And maybe you can, but now you in that situation, you might have to bring in co-signers, give them some equity to help you sign. And that's what I've done. So the deals I've refinanced, that's the bottleneck or the hurdle to get over is, well, now we've got to go qualify for a $2 million commercial loan to refinance them out. But there's ways around that. Like I said, you just bring people in and you give them a little piece of the pie and they can co-sign on for you.
Gotcha.
It's called a debt guarantor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, because if you're making most of your money off the sale, why don't you prolong the sale as much as possible? Like own it for longer. Because then the part where you make the most money, you're getting, if you don't need that money right away, that is. It's
about maximizing the value, because in order, in commercial world, it's all about how much cash flow the property produces, right? So if that property's cash flowing $100,000 a year, and I paid $500,000, and I bring cash flow up to $200,000 a year, that property's worth $1 million. That's how the commercial finance works. It's not about the appraisal value or the condition of the property. It's about
commercially
the cap rate.
Okay.
And the cap rate's based on how much net operating income there is. And so strategically, I need to over time double that if I want to double the price of the property. You know what I mean?
So in the scenario, say we got, I don't know how many acres you get for $100,000 here in Sayulita somewhere off.
Yeah.
Say you do that, we start building our thing, and we had a business model that was going to do X or whatever, but we ended up doing way better than that. And in a year or two, we were adding things to it, making it a better operation.
Right.
And then the operation is doing like 5X what we thought it was going to do before.
Then you get a commercial loan, and they're going to base the value off how much income you're producing.
And then you can pay off your investors.
Rather than getting a land loan, go get a commercial and say, hey, this is a business. Yeah, exactly. And then that's the ideal arbitrage, is pay off all your lenders through the refinance. Yes. And then keep the asset long term. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. That seems like very viable.
Yeah.
And we want to keep it. So it's like.
And again, if you need help, like what I've done in those situations, like I had a property we bought for $2.8 million, and the seller would just not go for seller financing. And in that situation, normally I would just walk away, but there was over 128 units. It was in Toledo, Ohio. Believe it or not, this was one of the first big mobile home parks I bought, and we went all bank loan on that. There was no way me and my business partner were going to qualify, so we brought in some guys from California who'd seen us on Facebook. They wanted to partner in one of our deals, and we said, "Hey, co-sign on this loan, and we'll give you guys 10% equity. You'll get a piece of all the profit centers, essentially." And they helped us qualify for the loan, and we paid off our lenders and stuff, and so yeah, that's always an option. And with a small project like this, it'd be very valuable.
Yeah. I'm wanting to do something like this very soon.
Cool, man.
So you help people do this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm passionate about, it's cliche at this point. There's a lot of people talking about it, but I'm very passionate about, defying the 9-to-5 system. I don't care what your circumstances are. I just don't think we're meant to be grinding away paycheck to paycheck, and whatever. For me, like I said, I tried a lot of different things. I never had a job, never had a 9-to-5 job. Right out of school, pretty much, I went into construction. I started a construction company. that
doesn't surprise me. He just looks like a guy that, you know
right.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and it was good, you know. But
like the orange shirt on, jeans on,
yeah.
boots. Like,
yeah, dude, I definitely built some rough and toughness from that.
I love it.
But I hated dealing with the clients. You know, you get picky clients, and they're the ones making all the money. And I was watching them, you know, my house flipper clients. I'm doing all the work. They're making the money. I was like, all right, I got to get. So then I bought a cab company. I don't know, a taxi company. This was like before Uber took off. And it did okay, but like my drivers were stealing money from me and stuff. And once I got into, anyway, you know, I tried a lot of different things. Once I got into the real estate world, I realized I was passionate about it because I was good at negotiating. So you got to do what you're passionate about, do what you love, you know, and there's so many options and vehicles and modalities out there to be, you know, not having to grind away, and take whatever your situation is right now, your W-2 income, and apply that to real estate or crypto or, you know, starting your own business, something you're passionate about. And so for me, what was your original question, by the way?
I forget, honestly.
Yeah.
We'll just go with the flow.
Yeah.
I know what my next one is, though.
Okay, well, hit me with your next one.
So everyone that comes on, this podcast is more movement, more money. So the whole goal of this podcast is like in all realms of life, you know, health, finance, love, like relationship. It could be anything. So to you, first off, what does more movement, more money mean? And then two is how can people bring more movement into what you've done in life? You know, the moves you made, you know, the deals,
great,
negotiation, to bring obviously more success. And like, dude, 600 units, that's insane.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, I just read the book 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. I don't know, my business coach recommended it to me, and it was pretty profound, and this question reminds me of that. I think to me, more movement means, you know, creating more impact in the workplace, in your personal life, and also setting bigger goals. That's a lot of what this book was about, is that I think we're wired to set like attainable goals and play small and kind of, you know, not move the goalpost too much, and then we can go 10 years and really how much difference did we really make? How much impact did we make? So I think like the goal is to like focus on our 20% where we're most valuable, delegate the 80% or just eliminate it completely, and deliver as much impact, you know, as you can in as much time as possible. And so I think to me, more movement, more money. Is that what it is? More movement, more money?
Yeah, dude,
More
you're crushing.
More money. Yeah. Is about impact. I think the more money I make, the more successful I am, the more people are going to listen to my message, you know?
I like how he said 80-20 your impact. So find out what you're good in this life and what you can bring the most impact in.
Yeah.
And do that, delegate the other 20%, and that's you creating your dharma and making the most impact in the world.
And we're wired. I was just talking to him about this.
I love that,
You know,
dude.
we're wired, we default to dealing with the 80%, the emails, the urgent shit that comes through, and not focusing on the important, you know? And so we deal with all putting out fires and answering emails, and then that 20%, the vision building, the, you know, the impact, that book you want to write or whatever that is, it gets put on the back burner, you know? And I think that 20% is what defines us over time. So the more we focus on that, the better, you know?
I would argue that the biggest difference between someone that's successful and not successful is literally just them 80-20 or figuring out what actions, because we're all taking a lot of actions. Unless you're a real couch bum and you're just like, you know, video games all day, potato chips. Like usually people are out doing stuff, but it's usually like what things are you doing? And that just little 80-20 or flipping, like just optimizing your actions just a little bit over time gives that exponential. Oh, God. And then if you 80-20 everything in your life. And
flipping it upside down, and like, it's not about being busy, right? Because you can be busy all day, but it's like, how much are you delivering in that time? You know, and the author of the book, I highly suggest the book, Dan Sullivan. He's like 80 now or something.
It's easier than 10X than 2X?
10X is easier than 2X. But, you know, he's like he coaches a lot of business coaches and Fortune 500 companies how to, you know, build automated teams and self-managing teams. And this book, you know, he paired up with a psychologist and they wrote this together, and they brought a lot of like how the science of like behind like the more rest you put in, the more free time you take, it's actually counterintuitive, but the more productive you are. And I'm sure you guys know this, but but Dan Sullivan, he schedules his year out every year. He and his wife, who's his like executive assistant, they schedule their whole 360 days, and they schedule 180 free days first and decide what those free days are going to be. And that stuck with me. I was like, man, yeah, it's like so many of us are like we got to put out fires, and whatever's left over, then we'll invest in ourselves, you know. But just flipping that upside down, invest in yourself first, invest in your team first, you know, and so.
I'm with that 100%. Our theme lately, we've been saying we like scratching our balls most of the day.
Yeah, right.
I like breath work, ice bath, doing temazcals, just going to the beach, like doing yoga, working out, like just doing shit that I like doing, but then making my impact. But I don't want making my impact taking up all my fucking day, because then we're like, soul sucks, and then our impact is going to be less. Like, dude, you hit it right on. Dang. So second question of that is, for every viewer out here, say we have some in the first category, second category, third category, it doesn't matter in terms of how much money they have. Money aside, what should they do with their actions moving forward? Like, what kind of movements should, like, maybe, like, if you've learned, like, just life tips that can go for anyone, even if they don't want to get in real estate. All right, quick interruption from the podcast. As always, thank you for listening and being here. But I want to talk to you about poor sleep today. And did you know, I just learned a couple of these today. Poor sleep is linked to obesity, diabetes, anxiety, heart disease, depression, cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, autoimmune diseases, and autism. So pretty much all the bad things in life that you do not want. And getting back to good sleep can be as simple as putting glasses like these on. And they look good. So we just want to talk to you a little bit about blue light today, and how something as simple as putting on these glasses can protect your blue light and your circadian rhythm, which is that internal clock we have in our body, which is like one of the main biohacks that we can do, which is getting tapped in with the, the environment around us. And one of the main thing is the sun. Mm-hmm. So with our modern day light, what do you have to say about that? So why would you say, why are we wearing these right now?
To protect us.
He's wearing the night ones right now. I'm wearing the day ones, but we would be wearing the day.
Yeah, but this still helps too, because it's blocking the harmful light that's emitted from the artificial, which is pure blue light, which comes from the sun, but this isn't balanced with any of the other wavelengths of light. We would be getting full spectrum if we were outside. This just has that one frequency that has been proven to damage us.
See, so right here it says on the infographic, you can see on the screen, is blue light harmful? It comes down to exposure to blue light after the sunset inhibits the release of melatonin. So the main thing is, after sunset, you want to tell your brain and body to wind down so you get good sleep. Mm-hmm. And what these blue lights do at nighttime, it literally just tricks our brain into thinking it's still daytime. So you're just getting these blue lights. And we just learned recently that they made it like illegal, or...
Yeah.
Oh boy, I don't want to drop any names, but they made it to where all lights inside are just blue light for some reason. They wanted to take out all the red light.
Yeah, they took the red and the UV out. You can't even, it's hard to buy incandescent bulbs now, which have more spectrums than just blue.
Oh God, it's wild. So long story short.
Save energy.
Yeah, save energy. Long story short, we want to help you guys in all realms of life, biohacking, and the newest sponsors of the podcast are Raw Optics. And they're going to help you with your circadian rhythm. So they're pretty much going to help you and your eyes get the light it needs at the right time. So they have a little cool, another infographic I'll put up right here is, one of the best things you can do is wake up and get that natural blue light from the sun. So as soon as you wake up, set your circadian rhythm by like looking at the sun. And they have moving throughout the day. So be active, exercise, do your yoga, do your movement. And then what were the other ones they have on the thing? I think it's one is no sunlight or no lights after sunset. So just throw these on, because we live in a world where right now we're inside, we're not getting any direct sunlight right now, and we have these lights in our face, just unnatural light. So a lot of blue light. So you can still wear them inside, of course, but then at night it's even more important. I would argue it's more important because you're winding down for bed.
Yeah, you need melatonin, and melatonin gets secreted in the presence of darkness. So it blocks that when you're receiving the blue light, because it's tricking your brain into, it's still daytime, we don't need melatonin.
Yeah. So long story short, I just want to thank you big thanks to Raw Optics, and let you guys know that in the description you can check out Raw Optics for yourself. They have all these infographics on their page we're looking at right now, and they're onto some cool stuff. I can't talk about what they're onto, but what they already have is worth checking out. Get your circadian rhythm in check, and that's probably one of the best biohacks you can do to get more movement and more money. Now, back to the podcast. We good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's organic, too.
Yeah, super organic. Yeah, we don't like doing ads, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now back to the podcast.
Absolutely.
Like some good moves to optimize their future.
I just think investing in yourself, obviously it's, for me, I just have to, touch on that. It goes without saying. But, I told you a little bit, like I have a past with just drugs and alcohol and being somewhat of a shit stick and in and out of jail and then even prison. And my parents sent me to rehab. And I'm grateful for all those experiences because it left me with a lifelong fill of depression and anxiety and trauma that I've been fortunately having to work through. And that's what brings me to these events and to do all these things. And like, I have to meditate to get through the day. I have to take time for myself where I can get into a really dark place. And so I have, the more money I make, the more I go on to retreats for mindset. I spend, $50,000 a year on my business coach. I go to men's groups and, and then of course my mind and body, I invest a lot of time into my body and sauna, ice bath, fitness. And I just think, longevity and energy and vitality is so important no matter what you're trying to accomplish, right? I just think that to me, and I would encourage people, if there's ever a hold up on like, if it's a financial thing, it's like, find a way to make it work. If there's this event you want to go to or a seminar, if there's someone you're wanting to learn from, it's part of the 10x mentality. If you want to have 10x goals, then you got to start going outside of your comfort zone. And so I'm a big advocate for that. And I think, it helps me in the business world because, I'm okay doing hard things. I don't freak out when there's turmoil in the marketplace or whatever that is, because, I've kind of been through my own adversity and stuff like that. And so I think just, the comfort zone thing, push yourself, and that's going to help wire you to, to maybe start that business you wanted to, or write that book or start that podcast or whatever it is, or maybe invest your funds that you've been holding on to, collecting 1% in your bank account. It's just sitting there, Actually, you're losing money.
I was going to say inflation,
now you're
bro.
losing money, yeah. So it's, so I think.
I love that. I love how he said invest. He's $50K a year. Good for you, man.
Yeah, bro.
So even if you're however much money you're making, you need to invest a certain percentage of that towards yourself. And even if you're not making any money at all, you need to be investing your time. I would say. Yeah, your time is your best resource, of course. But people forget that.
Yeah.
And like if you're talking about stocks, like I remind people, I'm like, you can put in $5 a week. Like there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah.
Like people think like, oh, I gotta start. And like, real estate's even more intimidating because
there's so many barriers.
You gotta get smart to finding these deals where you're not really putting your own money in. But like even when it comes to putting your own money in, it's like sometimes it's just like put a few bucks in, then you're going to get the momentum started. You're investing in yourself and your future before you spend it on the cop or whatever it is. And then in 3 months, you're going to be wanting to put in 10, 20,
Absolutely.
50 a week. Like you're going to get addicted to investing in yourself.
Absolutely.
Where retreats, training, seminars, men's groups, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, and it's and you meet a lot of great people too. Like you and I were talking about this at the ice bath thing, but just the networking that you do, and I'm really excited. I was telling you I'm working with Cody Alford right now, and I guess you don't know him, but I'm sure maybe some of your listeners do. And he's got this whole DeFi movement, and I already have my business coach now. I just jumped into his $20,000 program, and it's 2 weekly calls a week. And then you do some he does alignment retreats and stuff like that. And I just thrive on that stuff, man, and I have some big epiphanies when I go there. I learn a lot about myself, and sometimes I make big shifts. I'm like, man, this isn't what I want. I want this. And then I go after it. And it's like some of us are just tunnel vision, and we don't take time to get internal, and that stuff helps me. Meditation, yoga, all that. So.
Facts. We talk about that on the podcast a lot. Getting to homeostasis.
Yeah.
So like all this biohacking, all the chilling out meditation, it's so we can get our body back to like normal, optimum functioning, and then you're going to bring your best light to the table and almost anything. So it's like you get the best downloads when you're actually doing jack shit.
Totally. Yeah, man.
You're at a retreat and you're just like, oh, a download. Or a men's seminar, they say something like just because you can relate and like you're not working, you're in like you're working on yourself mode, but you're not working mode.
Yeah.
And it's like downloads happen.
Absolutely.
Dude, well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate this. I'm sure you're going to get some questions. Just message him. Where should people go if they want to ask you a question or maybe?
Probably Instagram. Yeah, just Alex Donlow on Instagram.
I'm sure you do consultations, whatnot.
Yeah, maybe? We do calls, and we have some coaching options, and we actually have some workshops coming up too. So yeah,
that's fun.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really, really love what you guys are doing and the message you're sharing. Hopefully this lands with your listeners, man.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, it's going to help me make a couple extra bucks. It better help you too. Absolutely. So yeah, thanks for joining. This was episode 5, I believe, of the More Movement, More Money podcast, helping you move more so you can make more. And that could be money. We talked about money today, but again, more, not just money, more like, love, more light, more laughter in your life, just more of anything that you do want, making the right moves to get that. So that's what this podcast is all about, dude.
Love you, brother.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man.
Until next time, y'all.